A gang of schemers deliberately breaks patterns, breaking public expectations. Are you being told that Putin is about to die? Break off. Are you expecting some shocks from August? You'll see, September will come and nothing will happen. Such tactics are also included in the general model of exhausting the enemy. And the bandits have enemies, everyone who is not included in their narrow club of adventurers. So, Prigozhin's rebellion, in all likelihood, was a schematic imitation, which had the goal of identifying disloyal generals in the Ministry of Defense. As a result, Surovikin and company took the bait and are now seated in cells. Putin, who never backs down, plans to starve Ukraine and the West out by imposing a long war, from which Europe is already tired, and yet the bald strategist has not really started anything yet. The West is sympathetic to Ukraine's demand to withdraw Russia's troops from its territory and then negotiations can begin. But this condition will not be accepted by Putin, who will rather send a couple of million more Mobics to the war and raise the stakes already to the level of the last batch with NATO. This secret admirer of Hitler seems to fully share the paradigm of his idol. If the Reich lost, it must disappear from the face of the earth. Putin further isolated the cave this week by signing a decree suspending certain articles of tax agreements with a number of unfriendly countries. In addition, he submitted to the State Duma draft amendments to the legislation concerning the procedure for notifying the UN and the Council of Europe in the event of the introduction of martial law or a state of emergency in Russia. This may be due to the planned withdrawal of Russia from the Council of Europe. Putin is preparing the conditions for a global clash. In the meantime, the Kremlin is spreading disinformation about the alleged withdrawal of Wagner's thugs from the territory of Belarus. In fact, Prigozhin's militants remain in place, waiting for orders from their masters. Satellite imagery taken on August 9 shows a significant number of vehicles in the mercenary camp near Osipovichi in the Mogilev region, and there may have been even more between August 1 and 9. Against the backdrop of rising tensions, Poland intends to increase the number of its troops on the border with Belarus to 10,000 soldiers. Polish President Andrzej Duda, in an interview with The Washington Post, spoke about the need to stop racist aggression. Poles help Ukrainians because they understand the threat from Russia, he said. We know that when the Russians come, they rape women, they kill people, they deport people to the east. We know that the Russians need to be stopped, end of quote. On the front, the armed forces of Ukraine repel the attacks of the Rashists in the area of Kupiansk, Liman and near Bakhmut, and move forward near the border of the Donetsk and Zaporizhzhia regions. In Zaporizhzhia in recent days, the invaders have dealt particularly brutal missile strikes. At the same time, at the Zaporizhzhia NPP, according to Energoatom, water leaked from the first circuit of the reactor into the second. This happened due to a violation of the integrity of the third steam generator, located in the hermetic shell of the block. Consequently, the occupiers began transferring the fourth power unit to the cold shutdown state. It is likely that the invaders are planning to bring the sixth power unit into hot shutdown state within the next 3 days. All these manipulations may end in disaster, but the Kremlin is tearing up the mold, raising the stakes and forcing the West to yell, stop, and force Kyiv to the negotiating table. The recent talks in Saudi Arabia have attracted developing countries. In Jeddah, Ukraine and more than 40 countries of the world discussed the plan for ending the war proposed by Zelensky. And this discussion took place defiantly without the presence of the Kremlin fascists, as if historically referring to the Tehran Conference of 43 years. But history never repeats itself verbatim. If you don't want war, you will have peace to exhaustion. And everyone who is waiting for the dance of the little swans, let them break off. There will be no ballet, but there will be a bloody disco against the backdrop of a sinking ruble, which is also sinking according to the plan of schemers who have successfully squeezed out the currency from the population. And the fun on the cave dance floor will be provided by Frostbite, who returned from the front with an uncontrolled arsenal of weapons and ammunition. In the meantime, the cave is trembling from single flashes in Sergiev Posad and Domodedovo, looking with hope towards Moscow, where the city itself has already arrived. So on Friday, a drone fell near the Karamaishevsky hydroelectric complex. So the armed forces of Ukraine are also tearing up patterns for the schematics themselves. But not only the armed forces. Google has begun massively blocking corporate Google Workspace services for sanctioned Russian companies. After such a blocking, the sanctioners cannot access corporate mail, use electronic document management, and almost all important documents and correspondence have become inaccessible in the Google corporate storage, without the possibility of copying. And the West can also provide more weapons so that the armed forces of Ukraine can splash down the Crimean Bridge and drive the mothers to Rostov and Krasnodar. Because after the loss of Crimea, the denouement will come very quickly. And either Putin will be strangled by his own people, or he, like a true schemer, will imitate his death, and he will run away to the African Barmeli, where he will live out his bald age. No wonder he kissed them in St. Petersburg. However, African cannibals are capricious. They can pass them to The Hague. So the schemer, most likely, will tear patterns to the last. Until the tail is torn off and strangled with all the rat brood.